Hello, how are you? It's that time of the day again, story time. Today I've brought some friends along with me. Today's story is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So I've got three bears here. This is our daddy bear. He's the big bear. This is Mummy Bear. She's the medium-sized bear. And here's the little bear, Baby Bear. Have you got some bears at home? Maybe if you do, you could reenact this story when you get home. Or if you don't have three bears, you could use some of your other toys and pretend that they're bears. Okay, are you ready for the story? Oh, sorry, Daddy Bear. Here we go. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. There was once a little girl whose hair was so bright and yellow that it glittered in the sun like spun gold, so she was called Goldilocks. One day Goldilocks went into the field to look at flowers. She wandered on, and after a while she came to a forest where she had never been before. She went into the forest. It was very cool and shady. She came to a little house standing all alone in the forest, and she was tired and thirsty, so she knocked at the door. She hoped the good people inside would give her a drink and let her rest a little while. Now, though Goldilocks did not know it, this house belonged to three bears. There was a great big daddy bear, and a middle-sized mummy bear, and a dear little baby bear. Now, though Goldilocks did not know it, this house belonged to three bears. There was a great big daddy bear, and a middle-sized mummy bear, and a dear little baby bear, who was no bigger than Goldilocks herself. But the three bears had gone out for a walk in the forest while their supper was cooling. So when Goldilocks knocked at the door, no one answered her. She waited a while, and then she knocked again. And as still nobody answered, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. There, in a row, stood three chairs. One was a great big chair, and it belonged to Daddy Bear. And one was a medium-sized chair, and it belonged to Mummy Bear. And one was a dear little chair, and it belonged to Baby Bear. And on the table stood three bowls of hot porridge. Goldilocks thought, the people must be coming back soon to eat it. She decided to sit down and rest until they came. So first she sat down in the great big chair, but the cushion was too soft. It seemed as though it would swallow her up. Then she sat down in the medium-sized chair, and the cushion was too hard and it was not comfortable. Then she sat down in the dear little chair, and it was just right and fitted her as though it had been made for her. So there she sat, and she rocked and she rocked, and she sat, until with all her rocking and her sitting, she sat the bottom right out of it. Oh dear, she broke the chair. But still, nobody had come, and there stood the bowls of porridge on the table. They can't be very hungry people, thought Goldilocks to herself, or they would come home to eat their suppers. And she went over to the table just to see whether the bowls were full. The first bowl was a great big bowl with a great big wooden spoon in it, and that was Daddy Bear's bowl. The second bowl was a medium-sized bowl with a medium-sized wooden spoon in it, and that was Mummy Bear's bowl. And the third bowl was a dear little bowl with a dear little silver spoon in it, and that was Baby Bear's bowl. The porridge that was in the bowl smelled so very good that Goldilocks thought she would just taste it. She took up the great big spoon and tasted the porridge in the great big bowl, but it was too hot. Then she took up the medium-sized spoon and tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl, but it was too cold. Then she took up the little silver spoon and tasted the porridge in the dear little bowl, and it was just right. And it tasted so good that she tasted and tasted and tasted and tasted until she tasted it all up. Oops, she finished Baby Bear's porridge. After that, she felt very sleepy, so she went upstairs and looked about her. And there were 3 beds all in a row. The first bed was a great big bed that belonged to Daddy Bear. And the second bed was a medium-sized bed that belonged to Mummy Bear. And the third bed was a dear little bed that belonged to little Baby Bear. Goldilocks lay down on the great big bed to try it, but the pillow was too high and she wasn't very comfortable at all. Then she lay down on the medium-sized bed, and the pillow was too low, and that wasn't very comfortable either. Then she lay down on the little Baby Bear's bed, and it was just right, and so very comfortable that she fell asleep, fast asleep. Now, while Goldilocks was still asleep in the little bed, the 3 bears came home again. And as soon as they stepped inside the door and looked about them, they knew that somebody had been there. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," growled the Daddy Bear in his great big voice, "and left the cushion crooked." "And somebody's been sitting in my chair," said the Mummy Bear, "and left it standing crooked." "And somebody's been sitting in my chair," squeaked the Baby Bear in his shrill little voice, "and they've sat and sat till they've sat the bottom right out." And he felt very sad about that. Then the 3 bears went over to the table to get their porridge. "What's this?" growled Daddy Bear in his great big voice. "Somebody's been tasting my porridge and left the spoon on the table." He was very fussy Daddy, wasn't he? "And somebody's been tasting my porridge," said Mummy Bear in her medium-sized voice, "and they splashed it all over the side." "And somebody's been tasting my porridge," squealed Baby Bear, "and they've tasted and tasted until they've tasted it all up." And when he said so, the Baby Bear looked as if he were about to cry. "If somebody's been here, they must still be here," said Mummy Bear. So the 3 bears went upstairs to look. First Daddy Bear looked at his bed. "Somebody's been lying on my bed and pulled the covers down," he growled in his great big voice. Then Mummy Bear looked at her bed. "Somebody's been lying on my bed and pulled the pillow off," she said in her medium-sized voice. Then Baby Bear looked at his bed, and there lay little Goldilocks with her cheeks as pink as roses and her golden hair spread all over the pillow. "Somebody's been lying in my bed," squeaked Baby Bear joyfully, "and she's still here." Now, when Goldilocks in her dreams heard the great big Daddy Bear's voice, she dreamed it was the thunder rolling through the skies. And when she heard Mummy Bear's medium-sized voice, she dreamt it was wind blowing through the trees. But when she heard Baby Bear's voice, it was so squeaky and sharp that it woke her up. She sat up in bed, and there were the 3 bears standing around and looking at her. "Oh, my goodness me," cried Goldilocks. She tumbled out of bed and ran to the window. It was open, and out she climbed before the bears could stop her. Then home she ran as fast as she could, and she never went near the forest again. But the little baby bear cried and cried because he wanted a friend to play with. Don't wander into the forest on your own. Make sure grown-ups know where you are, and never eat somebody else's porridge. That's our story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope we'll see you back here again soon. Okay. Bye-bye.